We're live. Call the meeting to order. Everyone, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we'll have the roll call, please.
Good evening. I will do the roll call right now. Ann Catrillo,
Here.
Jason Goldstrand,
Present.
Rebecca Bear,
Present.
Debbie Kulik.
Present.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks so much. We'll need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, January 9th, with members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action in the district's best interest.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, approval of our minutes. We need a motion to approve the December 5th, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and moving on to our items for discussion for this evening. We have our B Alliance update with Mrs. Murray. Good evening, everyone. I'm joining the panel. Oh, so. Video. Just screen, now send it over. Oh, thanks. Oh, nice. Mhm. Oh.
It's not showing my data.
You go to a mic at the work table?
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely. So.
Do I take a seat?
No, sit down, get comfortable.
My goodness.
Be careful though, if you lean back in the chair, something wonky happens.
Okay, well, I'm not able to see my documents here. When I let me see something. Did you give me? Because it's just showing exclamation points.
Must be very good.
It's that good.
It is. You want me to share? Saying open system settings. Let's see.
Oh, I have no idea what those are. They were here. So I just put them on the side for a second.
No. It's like a question. It won't allow me to share.
They weren't in this last time.
So it's just saying like everything's like unknown. They're up here in the tabs. Okay. He's got to do something on my computer, just, you know, someone else should go
Sure.
ahead of me,
We can.
so I don't, prolong the time.
Looks like Brian's on and in person. You count double.
How did you join?
Just realized. Do you want us to move on to that?
Yes, let's move on.
Okay. All right, then we're going to move on to the Future Educator Program Dual Credit Enrollment Report. I know we have one person online and one person present, so I'm not sure how you're going to handle that.
I think we'll have Ms. Carey go first with the future educator portion of the presentation. Okay. And Carrie, just signal when you need to turn the slide. You want me to go somewhere else?
No, she needs to be at a mic for the minutes. Do you want to sit at?
Come on
sit
up
at the
here.
table, Ken? Oh, sit.
Come on over here and join.
Family.
Got plenty of chairs.
Yes. Yeah, we're good. Just be careful if you lean back. I'm gonna say to you as well. Weird things happen.
Okay, so tonight we're gonna talk about the Future Educator Program. This was approved, over the summer, I believe, or, last school year, to run as a dual enrollment opportunity, for, our senior students at both, North and South high schools. So this program is part of the Aspiring Educator Pathway Project that's run through East Stroudsburg University. The Future Educator Dual Enrollment is providing the courses through Northampton Community College. So we're working with both of those institutions to provide the opportunity for students who want to get into the field of education. As we all know, there's a shortage of educators. So we're trying to provide that opportunity for our current students, hoping they stay local and then come back and work with our district and just like circle, look a full circle to provide educators. So in-house, we have a district partnership that includes all of the 10 buildings, PSEA union and board members that participate in an aspect of the program as well. So marketing the Future Educator Program. So we start with the end of the sophomore year for current students. So the students that are in the educator cohort that are juniors and seniors, we utilize those students to start promoting to the sophomores for the upcoming school year. They hand out applications to the interested applicants. As administrators, myself and Amy, who's online, and along with our the cohort advisors, conduct interviews with the students to see what their interest level is for the program. And then we select those students to participate in the cohort program. And it also gets parent approval with expectations. So the parents and the students know what is going to be expected of them for that school year. And also like going forward with the cohort because it's a junior year and into the senior year program. So the building administrator oversees the program in collaboration with the coordinator. So as a junior, students would be able to gain exposure in the field of education through hands-on learning using different events that are hosted within the district. So we have a kickoff event, which this year was held at South. Then we had a roundtable orientation, which we held at North. And then the students do 3 field experiences. So they do observations at the elementary, intermediate, and high school levels. There's also mentorship experiences that are provided to them to work with teachers in the building to build that relationship. That way they can ask questions and do some observations with those teachers as well. And then there's going to be a wrap-up end of year event. And we also attended the AEPP event with other local high schools at ESU. That was October or November, past couple months blend. But that was a really great event to coordinate with other future educator students with the other schools in the county for them to do some roundtable events and also collaborate with each other and build those peer relationships amongst the district and the county. It's just saying that the experience is led by a teacher hired as a Schedule B position in collaboration with the building administrator. Okay. So these are just some pictures of the students, some North and South students at the AEPP event at JTL and also at the South building. There's a student visiting JTL, and under that, it has the quote, "It was great to have a certain student in the classroom again. She was a delight as a student and would make an excellent addition to the faculty someday. Thanks for spearheading this and getting it started. It would be great to see our own students return teachers someday." Is a quote from a JTL teacher after having the South students doing some mentorship and observations in the building. So senior year, this is where we get into the dual enrollment part. So East Stroudsburg Area School District has partnered with Northampton Community College to offer the 2 education courses at North and South high schools. The 2 courses include Education to All Students, which has wrapped up for the fall semester, and then Introduction to Special Education, which will be starting in about 2 weeks at the beginning of the spring semester for the colleges. So part of that is the students, they have an East Stroudsburg Area School District professional staff member that is overseeing the class of the students. And then the NCC professor facilitates the class. They come in 2 days a week for a block period. It's about an hour and a half to teach the students the dual enrollment program. So NCC is the primary teacher of record and delivers that in-person coursework at the high schools, and the East Stroudsburg professional staff supplements the curriculum with hands-on field experiences. And they are always in the room with the students and the professor. So our proposal for the 2025-2026 school year is East Stroudsburg Area School District recommends that the Board of Education continues to approve the administration's recommendation to partner with Northampton Community College and to offer the 2 education courses at North and South High School. So those courses, again, are Education to All Students for the fall and Introduction to Special Education for the spring. So a cost analysis of this program, it's equal for both North and South. The contract with NCC has a minimum of 12 students. So the cost for those students is $285 per student because they're each 3 credits. So it's $6,840 for North, $6,840 for South. So an approximate number of $13,680 for those courses taught throughout the district. And then also the cost of books. This current school year, the books were purchased individually, but the plan, because the courses were changing the textbook that they were using. So the plan would be to purchase a class set that's owned by the district and then continuing to use that.
So 2
That's
class
that.
sets, 1 for North and 1 South.
Correct. Yep. So currently, there are currently 19 students enrolled in our senior year cohort between the 2 buildings and 29 junior year cohorts. So essentially those junior year cohort students would potentially be for next school year enrolling in the dual enrollment courses. So there's 11 at North and 18 at South.
Which is more than, which is great, but it's more than the 12 student minimum. And the 12 student minimum really with the $6,840 is actually $570 per student. Then the additional cost per student is $285. So if we, go with the numbers that are there, we're talking an additional $2,000, which in our recommendation, I believe it's at 15,000, but if the numbers remain the same, probably be closer to 17,000. Assuming the books, the cost was tabulated within that 13,680 is just the course for both sides, for the students plus books. So that's 13,680 is the 12 students. And then you figure the leftover to 15,000, I assumed was the cost of the books. So we would be adding additional 2,000 for the cost for the amount of students that are
That are there.
recorded up there. I guess one of the things I want to say, having been part of it, first of all, it was an absolutely phenomenal experience. I was at the opening meetings. I was part of the observations of when the students, were teaching their lessons at the end. I think it's a extremely worthwhile program for sure. No doubt in my mind about the experiences that they're getting. My only question, and I think it's a fundamental question that we as board members have to take into consideration, is the financial aspects of it, that we're paying for students to take 2 college courses. And so that's the extra, anywhere between 15 and 20,000, let's say, depending on how many students there are. And is that when I look at the program, when they're juniors, there's no cost whatsoever. It's all, part of experience, having our own teachers. They're going to their mentorship. We've already approved the Schedule B. So those teachers are in place in terms of the cohort. So I don't see the cohort, at least this is my own opinion. I see that the cohort should continue and so forth. It's just the course element of it in their senior year, at least from my perspective, that has to have some sort of discussion to it, here and then moving forward. And I guess part of my concern is we haven't really, looked at very specifically at the 25-26 budget, where that's going to, put us in terms of spending additional money on college courses. And is it something that students themselves and their families can, pay for, or if they can't afford it, is it something then that there's, as I read on one of these, it might have been on the second part of it, the subsidy,
In Northampton, I know has scholarships available.
Mhm.
So could we make it an option for kids to apply for the scholarship, see who gets it, and then kind of offset that way?
That's what, that's kind of what I'm looking at as well. So it's something for us to, think about. I know that scheduling comes up, somewhere, by February, March, I think at the latest. So we would have to, obviously come to some sort of decision before then, for sure, because I don't want, because this is what we did last year.
Yep.
And if you remember, last year we approved it in March, and I said, you have to come to us early next year because we don't want to say no to students once we've already promised them something. So that's why we all, if you remember last year, we
Yes.
kind of all agreed to both, both the cohort courses as well as the regular dual enrollment courses that we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a little while. So now that it's here in front of us,
Right.
I guess it's, it's something we have to think about, talk about. And I really want to defer a little bit
Yeah,
to the superintendent in terms of what our budget is process and where we're going with
So
that.
we will have a budget to you in February. So February's board meeting and finance committee meeting will be rolling out kind of the anticipated budget. So that we'll have a better idea. But Heather and I have spent a considerable amount of time combing through school code, combing through the different BECs of just trying to understand. And our current understanding is, and I have to have our solicitor vet this because I'm not a lawyer, and although I can read school code, I'm not 100% sure, is that if we are offering programs to students, that it must be free of charge because it's public education, that we cannot mandate that they pay for it. So this would be above and beyond, and this goes for this educator cohort as well as the dual enrollment dual credit. My experience is much different than how East Stroudsburg does it, and also how East Stroudsburg sets it up with paying. So my experience was always that students paid if they wanted into the course, and that was part of the course selection process. From our novice understanding of the BECs and school code, if we made them pay, it doesn't count toward average daily membership of attendance or instructional minutes. So on the child accounting side of it, we would have to go in and remove those students from the instructional minutes and the attendance. That is our basic understanding. I don't I don't know if that's 100%. I equated it, and Dr. Pipperato can kind of chime in, to band. You have to join the band, you either rent or buy an instrument. You must do that in order to get in. If you can't do that, the district has scholarships that we do, and we will incur that cost. But we still offer band, and students still know they have to purchase or rent that instrument. Well, we're not taking those students out of average daily membership or out of instructional minutes, nor have we ever. So I need PDE to give me an answer on that, and our lawyers are kind of really review it. So you're not gonna like this response, but I need more time to dig in a little bit deeper, to understand, because I don't want it to impact our instructional minutes for our students or our average daily membership, which we're already in kind of ATSI and TSI for attendance, so it will have kind of subsidy impact on financing, if we do that. So not only would we be having our families pay, but we would also be losing some subsidy because of attendance for those students. I spent the last week combing through, and that's the basic understanding that I have. And I need to sit down with our attorney, and I just haven't been able to meet up with him yet. Because I can't do this in an email, like I have to sit down, spend some time with him, read through and get his side of it, and then reach out to PDE and get their kind of response to us. So as of right now, we're going to ask that we include this in the budget. And the reality is let's do one more year of it, give me a few more weeks, and hopefully by the time we roll the budget out to the board, we will have a stronger understanding and a response from the Department of Education.
Do we think that, I know it's 24 kids is what we have to guarantee total, right?
Yes.
If it's not going to take out of attendance and all that, that we cap a class size normally. Do we want to cap this? Or do we want to say, no, everybody that wants to do it can do it? Like if you want, Bon Appetit, only a limited number of kids are going to get Bon Appetit. So do we want to say, a limited number of kids can get this, and in order to get in, you have to like do certain steps sophomore year to apply? Like maybe even like a letter of recommendation from another teacher.
We do that. There's prerequisites for it, and there is a class size cap.
But there's not though, because we have 29 students junior year when we pay for 24 and we budgeted.
Rebecca, I could talk to that. One of the big things is that the students, what Maggie Dr. Vitale was referring to, is that these students have been selected through an interview process sophomore year, and then during their junior year, they have met every requirement that we have set forth for them. Now, some students may not decide that education is for them. This past year, I had 4 of them at South that went through the experience, enjoyed it, but decided education wasn't for their future. So they bowed out of taking the courses. But I would be very hesitant to tell a student that for 2 years have met every requirement that they can't pursue their future because they didn't make the 12 cap for the courses. I think for my standpoint, and talking to Steve Zoll, these students are going to have opportunities to do different work within the district. They're able to work in summer programs as a highly qualified paraprofessional, that we have them going to ESU or a local school like Kutztown. When they come home from summer break, they could substitute within the building. We're really looking to have that partnership that these students are going to come back to us and work. So for us to tell them their senior year, you didn't make the cut to get that position, it kind of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to pursue.
Yeah, I was alluding to starting at junior year, only a certain number of kids can go into the cohort in general, even though there's no cost to us junior year. So we know how many we're gonna get senior year, you know what I'm saying, just to help with budgeting. That was just my thought. Cause that way we're planning 1 year in the rears for the next year.
Yeah.
I was just thinking budget purposes, because if we're gonna plan. We know now, based on, if we do a survey, say 27 of those 29 students are going to go forward, we know we have to budget for that. But what happens next year when we do the 26, 27, and maybe 25's 26's junior class is now 40,
Mhm.
then what?
Mhm.
That was my thought about
Right.
capping it,
Sure.
is just for budget purposes for future, because we have to plan ahead for each year. And if it becomes more and more popular, which I foresee it becoming. If we pay for 1 year, we have to pay for the next, we can't change our mind. And then we're gonna have to figure out where the money's coming from, not for 29 students next year. But maybe in 26, it's 40 students.
Mhm.
And then maybe it's 45.
Well, I would say the caution there is that this program is a lot of work. So this is not like Bon Appetit where all of a sudden,
Oh, I
you
understand.
know what I mean? Like you start to get it and now we're gonna see it grow and grow. I don't know that we're gonna get into the 40 and the 45s. This is, especially as hopefully as we roll out the next year, we have other pathways coming into play, right? Right now, this is kind of the limited pathway and it's cool and, you know, you've got college credits, et cetera. But A, when there's competition, I don't think we'll see that much. And B, it's a lot of work and a lot of commitment on the part of these students. They really do need to say, I am going to do this, or as Amy said, bow out by junior year. So that's
I'm
my
just thinking about
thought.
planning ahead,
I
that's all.
totally, no, agree with you, agree. And we have to, you know, take all of those factors into consideration. What is the future going to look like?
So is this something, going back to your comment, is this something that you want us to wait on to get further information for us to decide to move forward in terms of the courses themselves? Or is this something you're saying we will for this year put it, you know, if we agree, obviously vote on putting it into the budget for 25, 26, and then futuristically, the following year, you would have all the answers.
So my goal would be to request for the board to put it into this upcoming school year for 25, 26. And then by the start of, so by August, I will have a firm plan for how we would fund it moving forward. And what that would look like and the impact it would be, so that we're not again in January having this conversation, because
Yep.
I feel like we're kicking the can down the road. We are, I recognize that, and I recognize I'm asking the board to delay a decision. You already delayed 12 months. And I wish I had more time. I just haven't been able to kind of put my energy in that direction just yet, but I will over the next few months. So I can't even guarantee that I'll get a solid, firm understanding of it. There's also some things I think we could tweak in the entire dual enrollment, dual credit avenue of how we approach it and how we handle it. But I won't have a firm response by February,
Okay.
but I can tell you by the beginning of next school year, I would guarantee that we would have a better plan of what it would look like for 26, 27.
And then one other question.
Mhm.
So ESU charges us a lot less than Northampton does for a class. Does ESU offer this class as well?
We did a request for information with them, and their cost was astronomical compared to Northampton last year. So we did put it out to both. Northampton agreed to give us a per student rate, which was the 285 dual enrollment rate, where when ESU was going to charge us per course. So we were able to get 4 courses for the cost of 1 course that ESU was able to come into. ESU is willing to have conversations. They want to work with the AEPP to see if there's a plan we could put in place for Stroudsburg, Pleasant Valley, East Stroudsburg, how we could maybe all work together to help dual enrollment in the future. Carrie and I are going to be part of those conversations. But right now, NCC is looking for a commitment for us for staffing. And that's why we decided that, because that's on the table, that work, that was the best price moving into next school year. That was the cost analysis that we did to move forward with NCC. And we were very happy with the instruction and their partnership with us this past school year.
Amy, just a question on that, because Rebecca is saying the same thing I was thinking, because not in this particular presentation, but in the next presentation that is that we got in advance, you know, on the dual credit, dual enrollment. That's where, and I was shocked too when I saw that the price for the regular dual enrollment, dual credit courses from ESU per credit were cheaper than Northampton. And that's what kind of, I think that's where Rebecca was
Yes.
coming from. And that's what blew my mind too, because I'm thinking, how is that possible? And yet NCC in the future educators, those two courses has come in, obviously, you know, it's for the first 12 students, 570 per student, if you divide it, you know, 12 by the number that they give you, and then 285 per additional student. So, you know, that's obviously extremely reasonable. But yet when we move to the dual enrollment, dual credit presentation, I forget, I can bring it up, but on the one, there were two different columns, and on the one column, it was ESU, the other column was NCC, and yeah, it was cheaper. NCC was 95 per credit, and ESU was 50 per credit. So, you know, and I'm sure that's what made
That's what I was
Rebecca
thinking, yeah.
ask the question as to why couldn't, what about these two
Right,
courses?
why are these two different?
Right,
So they
exactly.
were, I just looked it up. It was going to be $10,000 per course. So it would be $10,000 at North and $10,000 at South. So it would be $20,000 per semester to
Yeah.
run the courses. So it
Yes.
was,
Yeah, which I agree with you. We definitely have to do NCC for that, but it just makes us though ask the question as to why for the other electives, do you know what I mean, that are listed there that our students can choose from.
Why
is
one of
it,
those?
yes, why is ESU so much cheaper than Northampton, yet ESU won't offer us that same price for these two particular courses? That's what the
That's what
question
my
is.
question was, why are these different than the others?
Is the
Because-
answer, Amy, that their professors come here?
yes, and that's what NCC made an agreement with us. We did a request for information last year. I did it with Eric Forsythe and Dr. Riker. We presented to both ESU and Northampton that this was our request. Come in with what budget numbers you're able to provide for us. And the question that was the course that they would come to North and they would come to South to teach these courses. And when I talked to Brooke Langen at ESU, the amount was $10,000 per course that they would have the teacher come and teach. NCC worked with us, and as part of the agreement and the partnership, they agreed to only charge us the $285 per student instead of costing us for the course. So there was a big discrepancy on that as far as what the two institutions were willing to offer us. So NCC really came in with a huge discount as far as how they were able to provide us that same service for the school year. Just one other thing I want to mention is part of that amount of the $50. Something that ESU is very different than Northampton is ESU provides a list of courses that they are able to allow our students to partake in. However, there's only 2 to 3 spots per course. So if Stroudsburg gets in first, they could get those 3 spots, and our students don't have an opportunity to take courses at ESU. So where they say that they're coming in at a better rate, which is the $50, NCC ends up being a better option for both our North and South students because of the availability of the modality of the courses, the time offerings of the courses, and also how many seats are available for the students. So when you look at a lot of factors that went into the research of this prior to creating these partnerships, those were some of the things that have been taken into consideration.
With
So
that in mind, Amy, then, sorry to interrupt, what does ESU then really do for us? Both in terms of dual enrollment and the future educators? Because other than us going up there for that one cohort day or whatever, I don't even know if it was a full day or not, and that involved all of the counties, county schools, you know, what is it that they're actually doing in terms of helping the future educators cohort, like, you know, because it seems like they're more stumbling blocks. And I know even with, like, you know, with grades and such, you know, they won't disclose that to
Correct.
the school districts either, you know what I mean? Which, I mean, I understand obviously confidentiality with students, but if they're also then courses that our kids are taking at college, but is affecting or not affecting their GPA, or just taking it as a, you know, a credit, not necessarily affecting their GPA, depending on if it's enrollment or
Yep.
credit, because obviously each one is different.
So I have two
and
answers to you
through-
on that.
In reading through all of this, I mean, I have it written down. That was like one of my major questions, because you know, it seems to me that from at least what I've read, and that's why I'm asking, that there really isn't, you know, a whole lot there. And I think it's important that our teachers who are on Schedule B, who are part of the cohort, and what we're providing as a school district, that you and Carrie are spearheading together in terms of giving our students a pathway for them to get experiences in education. The experiences that they're getting in education in that pathway don't necessarily need a college course.
Correct.
You know what I mean, is really my point. When we're talking about pathways, you know, and you said it, like moving forward, you know, there'll be other pathways. I also, as a board, I'm looking cautionarily at the fact that I don't want every pathway then to also have to have college credits.
Right.
To me, it's not needed and it's not necessary. So, but, you know, that's moving forward. But if this is the beginning of that, that's something we have to look at and consider, you know, all together. And that's why I'm asking the question specifically about ESU, because I see where Northampton is and they're coming into our school, and, you know, and I get that.
And actually STEM courses, if we had gotten a professor to come in, are gonna be even more expensive than an education course because of all the extras that go with STEM courses.
So you know, so I'm just curious, as we're looking at this as a county-wide initiative, thank you. And, or if, you know, what we're doing specifically as a district for the cohort, for our particular pathway, in this case, education. You know, where is ESU and Northampton as well, but definitely ESU in this case fitting in? What are they doing for us?
I think we're currently spearheading this with ESU. We're asked to co-present with them at a national conference as a model high school that has been leading the way in how we approach this with our district approach. When we go to different presentations, I've been asked by numerous county high schools to meet with them and meet with their superintendent, assistant superintendents to discuss their programming, what that we're doing, how we're doing the cohort. I know Dr. Langen just reached out to Dr. Vitale to let her know that there were different people that were asked to help represent this nationally. So I think we're really a trailblazer with this initiative. So
I definitely think you are a trailblazer, and East Stroudsburg Area School District is a trailblazer. My question is are we trailblazing for ESU?
I think it's all considered as part of a partnership that we're in this consortium together, and it's Northampton, ESU, and us as a big partnership trying to work on the teacher shortage in the area. So I think that's when I originally was asked to take part in this, it was that they wanted East Stroudsburg to be at the table, to be part of the solution in the teacher shortage and part of the AEP initiative. So they have been great. They've been very supportive as far as coming, providing resources, bringing mentors from ESU, having partners with them as far as Jackie will come over and work with our students from an ESU lens. Their mentors come and meet with our kids on a one-to-one basis, explaining to them the college translation from our experience to theirs. So they have been an asset. I was going to mention this before. ESU has come a long way, and Heather, you could attest to this as well. Heather and I have been working with them as dual enrollment for the past few years, and they are constantly trying to make the partnership better. There's a lot of new people in place right now that it is happening. They just hired another person on their faculty that could come to the high school and help their enrollment process. They've been coming and making presentations to the district. So it has been better than it has been with their dual enrollment focus. Right now, it's just as far as this initiative goes, NCC came in with something that was the full package.
I would say that one partner is working harder than the other in this marriage right now. But I have to say ESU has a lot of constraints that NCC doesn't have from the faculty perspective and the way that they do their financing and all of the rest, right? I'm loath to part ways with a partner who is right across the street. And so we, the three of us met and said, you know, do we just say NCC and just leave ESU out of the equation? We've had these talks and we don't want to do that. To Amy's point, they have come back and said, okay, we can't do it this way. How about this way? And we keep saying, no, how about you tweak this? So we're hoping that they'll get to the point where they really understand the high school environment and the fact that our other high school is a half hour from them, right? Every conversation we have, it's got to be equal, right? We need some equity here between our schools and the way that you treat them. So I understand your question. If you look at the burden of work right now, I would say NCC has been able to be a better partner than ESU. And I would also ask that we continue to at least keep them on the line and be able to give them chances. Their next idea, as Amy said, was to try to build a course that is countywide and have enough students then in a countywide kind of class that would allow them to financially provide a professor at one of these places where then we could bus kids. Well, okay. So now that's a half hour from north and a half hour back to north. So there's a lot of, that's where we
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, and Amy, the things that you said as well as Heather, what they're at least looking to do futuristically.
Yes.
And Amy, which was not on either of these two presentations that, you know, we read through in advance, is the fact that you said that they're bringing people here to mentor our students one-on-one, which I wouldn't know until you've said that. So, I mean, the fact that they're obviously, you know, partnering to do some work with us, I would not say obviously do away with them, but that's why I asked those questions.
Yes.
Because we don't, you know, based on some of these, you know, presentations, we don't know exactly what it is they're doing.
Do we know how many of these 19 students in our class 2025 cohort that are actually going to enroll in ESU's education program, or are they going elsewhere?
we don't know that yet.
Because we won't.
I'm curious to know that as well, to see what, because if we are offering a college class, usually they're transferable in-state. But what if, you know, one of these 19 students decides to go to Rutgers? Is that intro to education class going to transfer to Rutgers, or did we? pay
The
for a
students
class?
know that in advance. So that's a
Yeah, it's like AP.
risk that they absolutely,
We're
right,
paying
and
for
take
it
that.
too, so when they take an AP course, the student's paying for the AP exam themselves. We don't pay for it.
No, we do.
We do.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
I
we
pay
do.
for all my AP
We
exams.
do, and
pay for the
students do
first
pay.
two.
It's one of the other.
I paid for three.
No, you pay for the district pays for the first two, and then after that, depending on, it depends on your economic.
Okay.
And then
Situation.
whatever university you go
Yeah.
to does not need to accept that.
Yeah, they did not accept my
Yeah.
son's.
Yeah, they didn't need to.
Right.
Just a couple of quick questions. As for sophomores for this year that you see in the cohort that are interested, is there a rough number that you have for this upcoming year for that would become juniors into the program?
Not currently. So that's something Amy and I discussed recently is we're gonna coming up this spring semester is have our current students start to promote that. So it's like towards the end of the sophomore year, and we're gonna get that interest closer into the spring as the school year kind of wraps up to see where our interest
And then that's where the budgeting portion comes in. because-
Yes.
Maybe we should do that a little earlier then, so we can know for budgeting purposes.
Well, you would do that marketing
When you schedule.
before
Yeah.
they schedule in March.
Right.
So you would be doing that promotion, I'm
Now in
assuming,
February.
now.
Right, now,
Right?
in February, yeah.
So that's
For the
right.
current sophomores,
Mhm.
because they would be going into the cohort piece, which is where they go out and do the
Right.
observations. And the current juniors, we're gonna be talking to them soon before scheduling about doing the actual dual enrollment
So
to
my,
get those numbers.
so the junior cohort, that's current sophomores going into the junior cohort, it's not a class, correct? Is that something that they're just doing
Right.
on their own? That's what I'm
Just to
saying.
see how it
Right,
is.
so
Right.
it's really not until their junior year in terms that we're worried about, because we're talking about
Right.
coursework.
Which is why Dr. Vitale having some of that research done and kind of what approach by August will be helpful. Because if for some reason we do need to say, you know what, thank you sophomores, but just so you know, we're not going to be paying for those courses in senior year, or there's an alternative way that you need to do it. It's going to be information that they need to have in terms of whether or not they want to pursue the cohort.
Gotcha, okay.
Right. And then it lays it out better. And I just want to make sure that it seems like you, from everything you were saying, that ESU right now is more of a partnership and support process of going through with cohorts and so on. And then NCC is more coursework and providing those things. And then just the last thing, again, I don't think there's any disagreement that the program is incredible.
Right.
We all agree with that 100%. The one thing I will caution on, and I know Rebecca had said it, was about limiting the number of people in a course. Because if you do get a student who doesn't make the cut, however that cut is decided, whether they were just too late or whether we do alphabetical or we do, we got 40 kids, we're only taking 20, kid who really wants to be in that cohort. And then another kid drops out a year later and says, I don't want to be in it. And then that kid is already behind and wouldn't be able to get in. And
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, and it's kind of, when you miss out on a course, you have the opportunity to retake it again later on. But this is something that they have to invest a tremendous amount of their time into, starting with there. So like they were saying, I guess getting that information to us prior to budgetary times and obviously figuring out that pattern and so on. But I just wanted to make sure that I understand the relationships between ESU and NCC on those two parts. Good. Thank you.
This is, as far as I'm concerned, if anyone else has any other points of discussion, this is purely for the teacher cohort that
Right.
we're talking about.
Yes, that is correct.
In terms of, when we get to the last part of the agenda, in terms of approving it, this is not including the overall dual enrollment, dual credit. We haven't talked about that
No,
yet.
we're separating those two
Yeah,
out in
okay.
case we want to make a
Okay.
different decision on.
But my recommendation is going to be the same, because it's the same scenario with dual credit, dual enrollment, and the ADM and instructional.
Let me, then do you mind if we just go right into the second presentation?
I think
They're under the same.
They are,
Yeah,
the
same
umbrella.
heading. And Amy and Carrie, maybe you two can answer this question the most, I guess, or the best. We already said that ESU gives you the list of courses that is open for students to choose from. And sometimes there's only one or two spaces, available, et cetera. Whereas in Northampton, they'll be more specific to probably anywhere between 3 and 7 courses. It seems to be what I've seen through the future, through the years. And we can have many students apply to
Sure.
those.
Yep.
And are our students going to Northampton for those courses, or depending on the amount of students we have, are those professors coming in?
So could I just stop for a second? Because I
Sure.
think that question will be answered as Amy goes through her presentation.
Okay, okay.
There is something, so I think we can answer it now if you want, but I think it will
Okay.
be answered during
Okay,
the
that's fine.
presentation if you want to.
Yeah.
Carrie.
Yeah, I just have a quick, I think Amy and I are currently on a different. I just want to make sure we're on the same one that you're on.
Yes, I provided.
Yeah, Yeah, we got both.
We
of
got
There's
them.
be 12 slides.
But which one's on board docs?
The other,
The other one.
the other
But I
one.
feel like
One,
the old,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 pages.
Okay.
I do.
Perfect.
And before Amy, you start, I've added some language, or just some nomenclature. I've added that this is a section 1525 product. In other words, the section 1525 that came into law a few years ago is really what's guiding this. I say that because, Ms. Bear, you had the experience earlier this year to have had your daughter sign up for a class that wasn't under here, and yet, like, how did it happen? How did it happen that she got to go there? So I want to remind everyone that before this even happened, we've always had, right? Dual enrollment and dual credit. We've had this before. And students have always had the ability to, on their own time, with their own transportation and their own money, go to a college of their choice, be able to take it. And then they have a couple of options. They can either come to us, not tell us anything about it, and at the end, give us their grade and say, hey, would you mind putting this on our transcript? And our counselors have the ability to say, sure, we'll put this on your transcript, and a college can look at it. And or with pre-approval from the principal, as per policy, be able to say, I'd like to take this on my own time, etc. But I would like it to count toward elective credit. And that requires counselor, department chair, principals, all looking at that and saying yes or no. So we've always had that. Students have paid for that. We've never paid for that. And that's why I wanted to delineate that a little bit. The language I'm using here, we're using is section 1525 to show that this is specifically under the MOUs that we're required by law to have with those institutes of higher education.
And with that being said, as a parent that experienced it, I think the process needs to be a little bit more clear
Yes.
and a little bit better communication from Northampton and ESU.
Yep.
When a student goes to register, because they register themselves for the class.
Right.
The counselors don't register.
Right.
The student goes in and registers and says, oh, that looks good.
Yes.
There should be a little line item on there that says, is this for,
Right.
is this a 1525 dual Roman dual credit? And if it counts.
Right.
Do you still want to enroll?
Right.
There should be a safety net in there.
Well, I think the safety net has to be us because NCC has those agreements with multiple schools.
Right. But there
So
needs to, then there needs to be a little bit, maybe a form
totally
that the
agree.
student fills out with guidance and
Yep.
gives it to guidance, and then guidance goes in and registers them rather than the student. Or
The
the
student,
Or
well, the
parent,
guidance, again,
Or sits with the student and does it, something.
I think the point that you're making, which is totally valid, is communication better be clear as to what section 1525 is and what isn't.
And the other point to that is, and I bring this up only because I saw the course under the NCC dual credit enrollment course, environmental science. Like that should not be one that's on the list because there should be no electives that our students are taking at college that they can take
In high school,
in our high school.
right?
That's part of a MOU that we have with our association.
Exactly.
So again.
Well,
the-
environmental science, if I'm.
Is it a high school class?
No, I understand that, but it is required. General science,
No.
biology.
That was
it-
permitted on for the MOU because we only offer it right now in our program of studies as CP and applied. We do not have it honors or a AP level course. So that's why that class was added on
Thank you.
last year in the MOU.
So the college course, when they take a college course, it's automatically going to be AP credit. Am I understanding that
Yes.
correctly?
yeah, dual enrollment.
That is
dual credit's
correct.
automatic
Okay,
AP.
okay, thank you for the clarification.
Sorry for my preamble, Amy. Take it away.
No, that was perfect. That was a great introduction. Thanks, Heather. All right. So pretty much we went through some of this in the past. So just want to quickly give a recap. Dual enrollment, dual credit is something, as Heather just mentioned, is something that we were required to change the traditional format in which we partner with ESU in Northampton. There who our two partnerships are formed and our MOUs are formed with. As part of that dual enrollment process, students are able to take courses that could earn them high school credit. And part of this new section 1525 will also earn them AP credit. That is something that was changed rapidly, and we adjusted last year to make sure that we were in compliance for. You guys saw me a lot. I came to meet with you guys because we had to change our policy as far as our class rank, GPA. A lot of things were impacted by adding this dual credit aspect of it. So to pretty much summarize it, if you're taking a course for dual credit, you are able to have it count towards your GPA, your class rank, and as an elective credit. If you're taking it as a traditional dual enrollment program, it doesn't count towards your GPA. It does not count towards your class rank. And you also have an elective credit for graduation. So to Rebecca's point, what the students have to do is they have to sign a contract with guidance. And that contract, I know I worked really hard on it with Heather in the past, and that details every aspect of giving the parents the information on what mode that the student is going to be taking that course in. So we have a district contract that the guidance counselor does with the student to make sure that we are very clear in advance if the student is taking this course for AP rank. So just to let you guys know who would be eligible to enroll in dual enrollment or dual credit, it's pretty much anyone that's a junior or senior. Students find out about it because we have a dual enrollment and an AP assembly in which we bring the students down to the auditorium. We talk to them about what AP courses are optional available to them, and also what dual enrollment is. The counselor meets with the student. Every time a kid enrolls with a dual enrollment class, they sit there with the dual enrollment representative and our school counselor, and they put that course into that student's schedule. They come 3 to 4 times a year, North ESU and Northampton, to sit with our counselors and enroll the students. So we don't have issues as far as students being able to find out whether or not that the class is available or not, because our counselor and our NCC or ESU representative is at the table together, helping the students make those decisions. And then the students, where I was able to get these numbers last year and we'll plan to do it this coming year, is through the course selection process. The students indicate that they're interested in taking a dual enrollment course. Therefore, I was able to come up with a budget number last year for you, in which you were able to give us a range in which we were able to offer the programming this upcoming school year. And then when that's going to happen is going to be in the course selection process in March. So we are hoping to have it on there. That way the student could pick that they're interested in dual enrollment. And then that upcoming school year, during this current school year, the kids are able to meet with the representative and get that course built into their enrollment into their schedule for the upcoming school year. Are there any questions on what I presented so far before I move on to the next piece of
How
it?
does it work for ESACA?
ASACA students have all the same opportunities that they are able to come to the high school. I know the NCC and ESU rep have also met with students virtually, and they also went to ASACA. We do have ASACA students that are actively at North and South involved in dual enrollment or dual credit. They come to any of our presentations that we have at the high school. We offer them anything, and Lisa does a fantastic job making sure that she communicates everything to them as well.
We've actually started a timeline of all of this so that we know whose job it is to do what, and we've purposefully included ASACA. Well, this was just in the last, however, I guess year since Dr. Vituli's been gone, and we've kind of assumed this mantle. We put that together maybe 5 months ago, 4 months ago, just sitting down and saying, okay, what are all the pieces? What is every student that really needs to know this, and how do we coordinate it?
All right. So NCC, they offer their entire catalog to us. They don't limit dual enrollment. Students are able to take any courses that they would want out of the catalog. So what we did was we looked at what courses are able to be highly articulated into another institution, because we want to make sure that the students are able to if they go to another Pennsylvania school, that they are highly transferable. So we went through the list. We met with our counselors, and then we also met with several colleges to be able to comprise this list. That is where we were able to introduce like the introduction to communication, introduction to political science, introduction to criminal justice, public health, environmental science, technology to the list. So NCC, that's pretty standard. That's going to be what we're going to be able to offer every year because we have the whole course catalog available to us. When you look at ESU, they change their dual enrollment courses that are available every year. So we have to wait until they publish them on their website. And then we are able to then look at the ESU course offerings and see what matches the ESU. So this past fall, we were able to offer 4 classes to students. And in the spring, we were able to offer a lot more based on their availability to our students. We do find, I just want to point this out, that we do have more students, especially from our North Campus, enrolling at the Northampton versus the ESU, because this spring, all of their courses, their modality is in-person classes. So that time difference and be able to get the students to ESU is sometimes very challenging. We even find it challenging being 5 minutes away at the South High School. But they do have a wide array, and we do have students that have been enrolled into their programs in this upcoming school year. All right, so there are courses. All right, so last year when I came to you guys, I asked you for each building to have $17,385 to go towards dual enrollment or dual credit opportunities. Just wanted to show you how that played out. We stayed well within the budget. In the fall, we had 27 courses that were being offered that our students were capitalizing on. In the spring, we had 30 courses. And at ESU, we had 2 courses and 2 courses in the spring. So they are the courses that we as a district are paying for that the students took off of that list. In addition, we did have students that took courses that the college offered that they wanted to take English 101, they wanted to take Introduction to Medical Billing or courses on their own. The students did subsidize their own course if they did not make the list of choices that were there available to us. So the enrollment window is still opened for the spring semester. So I know our students are still talking with NCC, but as of right now, we are well within our budget and we're at $16,845 that we spent at the South High School this year on dual enrollment, dual credit opportunities. Just to point out, our students did very well. We just got our grades for Northampton. I did not get the grades yet for all of our ESU students. So when I return, I know I'm going to work on that. But for our NCC students, 88.24% of our students earned a C or higher in their course. So when you look at how our students are doing, they are successful. They are learning a lot of skills as far as using different platforms. They're using different ways of communicating, using office hours. So we do spend a lot of time bridging that gap between the school environment that they're used to and their college experience at the college level. So that is one of the benefits that I love about our dual enrollment, dual credit process. North High School is very similar in both aspects. North High School, they utilize $6,800. Like I said, they are very heavy on ESU. They have 1,805 students. $1,805 that they spent in the fall, $4,845 in the spring. I know since Carrie took over, Carrie has been doing a great job really promoting this, working with the counselors. Her and I have been working together a lot. And we really have a lot of plans on working with Heather on how we're going to implement this next school year. So we're really excited about where we're at, where the spring is going to be, and moving into next school year. When looking at the grade distribution, North had 90.23% of students earned a C or greater on their courses. So their students did extremely well. So therefore, leading us to our proposal to you is that you, as a board, would agree, as Dr. Vitale mentioned, that is our district's recommendation, that the East Stroudsburg School District pays for 100% of the dual credit, dual enrollment courses for this upcoming school year. Students still have the ability to take 2 courses per an academic school year. And we would pay for all their related materials regarding the courses. And I just have on there what the cost per course is that I know, Anne, you mentioned earlier. So that concludes the presentation. I know we had some discussion earlier, and I am available if you have any other questions on dual enrollment or dual credit.
I
have a couple too, but go ahead, Jason.
no, you go first.
So the one question I had is I noticed on the dual credit, dual enrollment, we include the education cohort classes. My question was, do we want to include them in that? Or do we just want to list them as the cohort specific? And the reason being, if we only, it's good, I don't know like how the cost is going to work out like differently. I know it's $285 per student, but what if we don't hit the 24? We're going to be paying more than $285 per student. I don't know, just a thought.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is 2 separate things.
It is.
So if,
I think that
I think this was just included
Yeah,
to show you the
to
scope
scope of
of the
courses.
courses.
okay,
Yeah.
But in this total, the future educator is not included. in it.
gotcha. Okay, so if I had a student, for example, that did not want to be in the future educators, but wanted to take introduction to special education, can they?
No,
Part of the
No.
program.
No,
No.
it's part of the cohort. It's
Okay.
part of the-
Okay, so it should, my point was it shouldn't be listed here then.
it's listed there because those students were not allowed to take other courses because they utilized the 2 courses through that, Rebecca. So we
Okay.
didn't have them that we paid for 2 other courses in addition. We wanted to keep that fair for all students. So when Dr. Vitale mentioned that accurately is we put them there that it's all included on these are the courses that count, but they were the only students that were eligible to take it as if they were part of the cohort, but they weren't eligible to take introduction to communication on our dime. So it's included, but it's not included in the figures, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so you have to
apologize
be
if
in
that
the
was
cohort to
confusing.
register for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gives us a list overall of all the courses and also obviously the percentage of C or better, you know what I mean? So
Gotcha,
we were
okay.
looking at the whole picture, but monetarily, it's been separated into 2 different areas, particularly for when we vote on it later.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, Rebecca?
I was just always wondering why we don't have like sociology or something like that as a class for like
Because we teach it. at
Because
the
we
high
teach
school.
it here.
AP sociology? I thought we taught only psychology, not sociology.
I would have to look at the questions.
I think we have AP sociology.
I know we have honors for sure. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about AP, but I know we have
Um,
honors.
This is what's provided to us. Again, my experience with dual credit and dual enrollment is much different. This is a very small scope in what I'm compared to, and an extreme expense. That the experience that I had in my previous district, and I hate to compare, but we worked with a different university. The way we did it was we took our course of study, we sat down with that university. We said, okay, what do you teach that we teach? And they came up, I want to say with 40 or 50 classes that overlap. The teachers of that school district taught the course. And any student who took the course had the option, they took the course as high school credit. And they had the option for $100 a class to take the college credit.
Mhm.
The university never stepped on foot, the college never stepped on campus. We ran it, it was our teachers running it. And it was a very minimal cost and families could choose yes or no. So in doing that, there was no ADM and instructional minute concern, which is why I'm at a loss of just trying to kind of backfill of section 1525 and just understand the ADM instructional minutes component of it. Because this school district does it much differently, and I feel that it's actually really restricting, because I know I had said to Amy, you know, why are we limiting it? We're limiting it because it's incredibly expensive. In my previous district, I can tell you almost 80% of the class, the senior class, graduated with at least a semester. There was probably 5 to 10% of the class that graduated with over 60 credits in the way that we did it, which makes you a junior in college. And the reality is, it's so silly, but it decreases student debt. So like there's an impact there. Decreasing student debt, students could try major. They could major in 3 things, because if they're already doing there for 4 years, and silly things like they were considered juniors, so they got better housing, they were allowed to bring cars. Just the opportunities at the college level was just much different. So I'm trying to level set with how East Stroudsburg does it. The 2 partnerships that we have in my previous district, I think I had 10 or 12 partnerships with universities. So this is very limiting to the county. It doesn't need to be limited to the county. It should be Penn State, Misericordia. It can be much broader, and that's why I'm and I know it's frustrating to the board, and I understand, I'm not trying to kick the can. I want to rip this up and redo it. I don't have the time to do it before we get into budget season. So I know it's frustrating, and I hear you, and I hate that I'm asking for funding, but the reality is I think we can almost do this for free next year, that it's not a cost for the district. It's not that we're going out and trying to find partnerships that pay for this and do scholarships through Northampton. I think we can do this much differently. I just need time and an assistant superintendent of curriculum or district program to restructure how we do it. Because I think there's missed opportunities for our students, and we could really leverage with minimal cost. So in the structure we have right now, I would like to proceed with this, because I don't want for our students to miss opportunities, because there was a leadership change and I'm trying to play catch up. Like I don't want our students to miss that opportunity because of that. But I think we can frame it much differently and grow the program at almost no cost.
So we do not offer AP sociology.
Okay.
I went on the curriculum, we don't offer it. We only offer AP psychology. And then what's interesting to me too is we give credit for Introduction to Cultural Diversity, which is a great class because my son took it. He loved it at ESU. But we offer multicultural perspectives on US history, very similar.
No.
No, very different. Okay, I don't know.
Yep.
Okay. But like we don't offer, I know we don't offer psychology here because we have AP, but we don't have AP sociology. We don't have that. So those are my questions. And that what we were told before is we don't offer classes if we have it as AP, but we don't have it as AP. So there's a few classes that students have been interested in that are easy transferable classes to any college, like Intro to Sociology. Every school makes you take some type of class like
And
that.
some of that limiting by the university.
Oh, I was gonna say, I
What
think
they're
that's-
allowing us to consider for dual enrollment. Because remember, we're taking seats from their
Right.
college students.
Well, this was sociology was the class that I had the hiccup with. That's why I was using that. I know other students wanted to take it, but it couldn't get credit, so they didn't take it.
Okay.
So they can take it. So, but we don't offer it as AP. We only offer it as honors or CP.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, Amy, but we also, we wanted to keep the offerings manageable for us. Every time we add one of these, we have to add it into our Sapphire program. We have a record. There's a concatenation of things, right, that start when we add it. And the diversity over different subjects. So we already have political science and criminal justice that would fall under that social studies realm. And to add another sociology, again, it's heavy in one department, right? And I think one of the considerations that Amy used and we all looked at this to try to figure out which courses was, can we give a broad departmental array of courses that students can have?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I agree with Maggie. I mean, just colleges that have reached out to us and research that we've been doing. I know that I know one community college that's close by, and I know like the University of Pittsburgh, that model that she described, that it's our teachers, is out there and they're more than willing to work with us. So I know there's been limitations that of why we are where we're at now based on our agreements and how we were going to move forward. But I'm really excited to work with Dr. Vitale and Heather and Carrie and really see where we could grow this program to, because I think having the knowledge from what she did at Abington and knowing what else is out there and knowing some of the things that I've met with representatives over, there's a lot of really great things out there that expand outside of just Northampton and ESU. So I know we have a good program now, but it definitely could be better. So I know we have meetings to discuss how we could really continue to make this better and keep moving and making it more cost effective for the district.
Thank
And the
you,
reality
Amy.
is we can also educate Northampton and ESU on how other universities are doing it, so that we do keep it local, right? So we can say, listen, like, this is what so-and-so university is offering us. How do we make this happen? So that they can benefit from it as well. So I just think it's a learning experience, but right now we just don't have the bandwidth to upheave it right now.
Makes sense. Thank you. All of, any
Thank
other,
you.
Jason?
The only question I had was, with regard to our cyber charter and our charter students, how do we get this out to them? Because they would be entitled to the same, according to 1525, they'd be entitled to the same course load that they would have access to that our regular students would. Is that something that we've done, or how would we do that? Or, I mean, the best thing is to bring them back.
Correct.
That's the
Use
best
this,
thing.
use this as an enticement. to
Right,
bring
as
them
an
back.
enticing way to bring
Yeah,
them back.
that's what I would
Um,
say.
Right.
But
I just want to make sure we're not limiting to just the students within our building, because it states that they should be allowed to take within the cyber.
Well, I do know, in looking at what I compiled for you last month in high school, I think I gave you the numbers of courses that were taken, of students who paid and who didn't pay. And one of our ISACA students took 5,
That's
right?
great. Yeah.
Which is great. So
But you're
Um,
talking like.
you're talking
talking,
non-ISACA,
yeah,
right? You're talking
non-ISACA,
cyber
like
charter.
Cyber
And
and charter.
I would be surprised, but I can find out for you.
Okay.
If Mrs. Vituli had not used that as a hook for parents. She did, for parents of those who are in our cyber charters, et cetera, to try to bring them back. She talked today at our meeting about efforts that she has done in connection with our communication department to invite those cyber and cyber charter parents who have left our district for whom we're paying back to the table to say, you really need to consider us. You really need to look at it. And what were the numbers there, Maggie?
42 and 55,000. Is that what you're asking for? Or
Sorry. How many of the 500 postcards that she sent out?
387 postcards
Okay.
sent out and 20 came back with addresses.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
That, and how many families, I think she said just one responded to her effort of saying, please sit down, let us show you what it is that we could do, you know, and it would be interesting to me to see in her list of things that would entice people back if, to your point, Jason, this was on there.
Okay.
So
I know we're not limiting it, because I know I had a homeschool student that did reach out to us, and they came in and they met with us regarding different options. So it's not that we're not providing it if it comes out, but to answer your question directly, no, we are not I have not promoted it out to them that this is available, but they did come to us, and they, like our homeschool student, they were eligible to take courses through our plan.
But it would be similar that if they came to us for extracurriculars and sports, we would certainly offer it to them, but I don't think we're actively marketing with that population.
I don't know if Debbie's still on there because she had another meeting to attend at 7. Is she?
it looks
No.
like she is.
Oh, she is. Deb, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move forward.
If I can just thank Sherry and
Yes,
Amy,
by all means.
thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Yes.
for our work.
Yeah.
we know it was a lot of work. Amy was away and I was just shooting off questions and feverishly asking a whole bunch of questions, and she was responding, and it was a heavy lift to kind of get this over the finish line, to get this to you guys for this week. So I just want to thank kind of the three of you for putting together this work. it's a great opportunity for our students, so just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
And
Okay.
thank you, Trinae.
I was
for
just
your
gonna
presentation.
say.
It's all right.
We had a little difficulty with the presentation and now she had to wait all this time. So thank you. Appreciate it.
No, it's no problem. I'm grateful to be here. All right, so I'm going to do our observances for December and January, and I have a short presentation about Ruby Bridges Day so that I will present. Very short, very small, but I just want to share it with the board so we're able to see the great things we're doing. But in December of this year, we had World AIDS Day on December 1st, an opportunity for people worldwide to unite against the fight against AIDS and HIV. December 3rd is International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And the theme of 2024 is amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. December 8th is Bodhi Day. It is a Buddhist holiday celebrated on which commemorates the day that Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha. December 10th is International Human Rights Day, and that was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. December 16th through December 24th is Las Posadas, a religious festival celebrated in Mexico and some parts of the United States, and that commemorates the journey that Joseph and Mary made from Nazareth to Bethlehem in search of safe refuge. Of course, December 25th is Christmas, as many know. December 25th to January 2nd of this year was Hanukkah, and Hanukkah is Judaism's festival of lights. December 26th and January 1st was Kwanzaa, and that was created in 1966, an African-American and Pan-African holiday that celebrates history, values, family, community, and culture. All right, so we're gonna move over to January. All right, for our January observances. And as I always appreciate when people email me and give me additional dates that I missed. So there is an addendum to this. I did add on January 7th, that is Orthodox Christmas. And I did not have that on my original that I sent out to the staff on the 2nd. January 1st is Poverty Awareness Month, a month-long initiative to raise awareness and call attention to the growth of poverty in America. January 4th is World Braille Day. And it is celebrated to honor the birth of Braille's inventor, Louis Braille, and Braille's gift to the world, which has brightened the lives of millions of people who are blind or visually impaired. On January 6th is Three Kings Day, commemorates the biblical journey of the Magi, also known as the Three Wise Men, to visit the infant Jesus with the gifts that they presented. January 7th, as I added, Orthodox Christmas. While the majority of the Christian world celebrates Christmas on the 25th of December, for many of the world's 200 million Orthodox Christians, the birth of Jesus Christ is marked on January 7th. January 8th is Bodhi Day, and that again celebrates the historic Buddha Siddhartha Gautama Buddha achieves enlightenment. January 19th is World Religion Day. It is a special time to bring people together and celebrate it every third Sunday in January. January 20th is the annual King Holiday Observance, a time we celebrate, commemorate, and honor the life, legacy, and impact of Dr. King. January 21st is the National Day of Racial Healing, a time to contemplate our shared values and create the blueprint together for how we heal from the effects of racism. January 27th is Holocaust Memorial Day, a solemn and significant day of remembrance observed to honor the millions of Jews and other minority groups who suffered and died during the Holocaust. And on January 29th, that is the Chinese New Year, and it is the year of the wood snake, an event that happens every 60 years. The wood element can amplify the year of a snake's focus on creativity, flexibility, and harmony, something desired by many. All right, so I wanted to share in conclusion with that, that I actually had a visit with a teacher at Middle Smithfield. I was working on helping her with some classroom things that she had going on, some children not speaking nicely to each other and things like that. So I put a presentation together for her as well as did a restorative circle. And so in our conversation, she told me that November 14th was Ruby Bridges Day. And I said, I had no idea. So I researched it, and there is a Ruby Bridges Foundation. And at that point, I decided I think it will be something great for us to get involved in. So I contacted Tabitha and Heather, and I put out some communications out to our our elementary and our intermediate principals. And so November 14th, Ruby Bridges Day honors civil rights activist Ruby Bridges, and then encourages children to celebrate her courage. Provides an opportunity to teach children about the civil rights movement and how it connects to current efforts for change. And it gives an opportunity for our students to connect with the past in pursuit of a brighter, higher future for all of us. So, there was a limited amount of time that we had to do this. And I was really excited by the fact that we were able to incorporate Bushkill Elementary, who did a small walk. Some students at my school in Lehman Intermediate put together some posters and things. So I just wanted to show some of those things so you're able to see them. And we can see how we commemorated Ruby Bridges Day. So I hope my sound works. Let's see. It doesn't. It actually doesn't really need sound, honestly. This portion, but this was created by Sandra Hartman, who is our technology teacher at Lehman. And so this is what was shown on the Lehman Today show on the day of Ruby Bridges Day. And there were also some activities that teachers were able to do with their students. We created with the Be Alliance a choice board for teachers to be able to select from different activities that were provided by the foundation, as well as activities that you could choose to do on your own. There were read alouds. There was the Ruby Bridges movie if it was chosen to be shown. And then just many different activities that just help children understand how we need to work together and be better together. So that was the purpose of that. So this talks a little bit about her work because she has her own foundation. She was the first child to be integrated into public schools during Brown versus the Board of Education. So she has turned that into a platform for social justice and bringing children together. So I just want to show some of the pictures. Let's see. Where did you go? You know, when you have all these tabs open.
You should see my work computer.
Let me see, is it showing up? This is my screen. Let me see, that's that one. Okay, here we go. All right, so this was created by some members of the Be Alliance. Actually, the student council at Bushkill created a small little slideshow to be able to share with students. So this was broken down for them about Ruby Bridges, about her being the first Black child to go to an all-white school. It explained what segregation was at the time and helped them to understand that. There was a letter that Ruby wrote that was also shared as well. So that is a student from Bushkill. She has a sign saying that we support Ruby Bridges. And this are the different posters that were made by the students at Lehman to support Ruby Bridges Day. And this is a short video. Let me see if it's gonna play. These were the students at Bushkill going outside for their walk. They were asking Mr. Dowski about his camera. So that was it. It was just something short that I wanted to share with you all. But I think that it's great that we as a community are able to find these different events to partake in, to keep our children understanding and involved in the different social justice and just understanding the differences that bring us all together. All of that is so important. And so in a short amount of time, we were able to accomplish something really great. I'm never someone who looks at things in terms of volume. I look at things in terms of impact and the opportunities that they offer. So looking forward to another year of planning and seeing what we can do. But I did submit our name. So those things it's a part of the work of the Ruby Bridges Foundation. So our name is a part of it, our district and our schools that were able to participate in it. So I wanted to share that with you all. I hope you enjoyed it. And I know I was excited to be able to be a part of it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Really
Welcome.
nice. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you, Trinae.
awesome.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, and we're gonna move on then to our State of the Intermediate Schools report. Dr. Bravo.
Let me pull that up for us. Okay, and I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger, having learned from last time that we were all squinting like this at the TV. I've provided some hard copies for you and am happy to make this as big as we can make it without leaving the screen. Without the preamble from last time, again, we're calling this our in the middle. What's the best part of the Oreo? I know there's a debate, but I think the middle is still the best part of the Oreo. And our middle level students, they're not forgotten. However, it's a difficult age. I've met very few adults in my lifetime who have said, if I could go back and do it again, I'd go to middle school. Many wouldn't. So they're a special kind of child and we've special kinds of teachers. How are we doing in our area? So just like we said last time, our ABCs are attendance, behavior, and classroom performance. And so this is a small look at some data that will inform how it is that we are doing. Attendance, again, we took 3 different ways. We looked at it as average daily membership. You know what? I do that. Yes. It fits it in a little bit better. And so you'll see the breakdown by grade. And again, the intent here is to see the pattern, right? We want to see the pattern of either growth or stagnation or regression. And so you can see at JTL and at Lehman, in most of these areas, our ADM has grown from 22-23 to 23-24 overall in both cases. And in the 6th and 8th grade level, there is growth, whereas at the grade 7 level, that particular year was a little bit below. So that was our average daily membership. Another way that we can look at truancy attendance is through our habitual truancy report. And these are our most egregious cases. And so they're the ones that we want to really pour our effort into, because obviously in this case, most of these students' attendance or lack of does equate to poor achievement or poor performance in our classroom and success for them. And that's certainly not what we want. So we have a 3-year look, and if you look at JTL on the bottom first, this is a number that we want to see decrease, and we do indeed see it decreasing at JTL. And then at Lehman, we've got some up and down. The 22-23 school year represents fully 45% of the students who were habitually truant. Clearly, that is not what we want to see, and we want that trend to decrease. So thankful for 23-24 that it decreased even over 21-22. So we'll continue to trend in that direction as much as we can. All right, and then of course the index we talked about last time. This is a little bit more complex. This is the formula that PDE uses to hold our feet to the fire in terms of providing us with extra support or naming us, giving us a title of ATSI or TSI. Lehman, as you can see from 22-23, also to complicate it even more, attendance for Future Ready Index is one of those lagging indicators. We talked about that last time, that what you see in 22-23, for example, that 54.49 is the actual students with disabilities attendance. That is not actually from the school year 22-23. That is the attendance from 21-22. But it is attributed to the school year 22-23. But therefore, we should, with our early warning report, if we're doing it correctly, be able to predict or come close to what it is our attendance is going to be in the future year. So the black writing constitutes the actual on PDE's website, and the blue constitutes, based on early warning, what we believe to be the attendance of our students with disabilities. Again, We are in TSI at Lehman specifically for the performance of our students with disabilities on tests and the attendance of our students with disabilities. So it is really an area of focus for them, and their goals, their plans that they have to submit to PDE are specifically written for this attendance purpose. So you'll see that we predicted in the early warning report predicted a 70.34. We only achieved 5.9. So it looks like we're off by a good 5 percentage points there. Predicted for next school year is 74.5. We are still honing that early warning report, and our goal is for that number to again continue to decrease and become more like that. The early warning report for JTL is a little bit more on. Our prediction of students with disabilities for the 23-24 was 73. We were at 70. We predict 80% for next year, which is already trending in the right direction, which is great. And then the prediction of everybody's attendance, there's only a 2% differential, which means our early warning report is giving us better data, and up to 81.52 for next year if we are correct with our prognostication.
What do you think causes the, I guess, the habitual truancy?
So one of the things that we have done, actually, Dr. Vituli put it into place 2 years ago, is he, through the IU, has hired 2 attendance consultants that work with our various schools. And we're at varying degrees with that in terms of success. But one of the things that we're really interested in is they are collecting the data for the habitually truant. So they meet with the students to say, what are the reasons why you're not coming to school? So we've collected that. It is, last year was the first year of data collection, and Dr. Vitale and I, we like statistics and we like data, but we also don't like dirty data. And while that did give us a little bit of a start, there's significant flux in that numbers for us to say, is that really a good baseline for where it is we're going? I will tell you in both instances, the largest category of why they're habitually truant is miscommunication. What is that? Because we can clearly solve that. What does that mean? Miscommunication.
So it's communication between the parents' expectations,
Parents.
the child,
Or is it?
who's miscommunicating?
Well, the reason I asked that question is,
I
I know as a parent up north, which is very different than a parent of south, and I noticed that the truancy is higher at the north school versus the south school. North transportation has a lot more issues, and north parents tend to have a more difficult time
Yeah.
if the buses don't come when they're supposed to come.
Yep.
Or there's issues in getting their kids to school. If the bus comes late or early or
Right.
whatever, they're gonna say,
Yep.
go home. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later. Whereas south, it's a little bit easier and closer to get your child to school. For example, for me, living where I live with my kids going to north, on a regular day for me, it's 30 minutes to drive my kid to school. Regardless.
Yep.
There's places that are even farther up past north where I know parents, it's a 35, 40-minute drive. And they're not going to, if the kid misses the bus, drive their kid 35 minutes. Maybe they have a little one at home. Maybe they work from home. Maybe they only have one vehicle and dad took the vehicle to work. So my question is it a transportation issue where there's habitual truancy? The miscommunication is, oh, the bus is running late. Or you're going to go on bus 2 rather than bus 4, look for bus 4. Oh, bus 2 went by, or 4, I'm not going to get on that bus. Things like that. And that's what I'm thinking as a parent.
Yep. And I think that's what we hire those attendance consultants to find out for us.
So there's
With
a
those
big
habitually
issue with-
truant. So we are looking forward to that data also, because that's what we're trying to solve.
It's the root cause.
It is.
It's communication, yeah.
Just out of curiosity,
Well, I
what,
don't even know if it's communication. I just think if we need to understand, I'm sorry, Jason.
no, it's
We
fine.
need to understand what the root cause is of the truancy
Yep.
to solve the problem.
At what what threshold do we have for considered habitually truant?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask me that, and I had that for you last
'Cause-
month. No,
No, 'cause
there's
I-
a specific definition from PDE, so
Well,
I can look
I'll
that up
Google it.
again.
You keep going.
Thank you, if you
Because
wanna
I
look that
know
up for
when
me.
we do attendance and, you know, if you have a letter, then it's not considered unexcused. And so I
Right.
don't know if it's a combination of excused and unexcused or however the.
I think it's 5 unexcused,
Five
is
unexcused.
unexcused, but if Dr. Vitale could
Right.
remind.
Because that
me
gives
of
us a little better, because when you think of habitually truant, you're
Right.
thinking they miss twice a week.
Right,
Or is
Or-
it simply they didn't, mom didn't do the note?
Right.
And they're considered
Or
habitually
just saying,
truant.
I mean, if you miss once a month, you can be technically, if it's more than 5, I mean, you can be considered habitually truant.
Right.
So-
if it's unexcused.
Unexcused.
5
correct.
unexcused, so if
Yep.
the parent forgets to
Yep.
write the note, right, because we have 10, right, excused as parents
Or-
that we,
With a non-doctor.
Or it's a 2-hour delay, the parents go to work and the kid decides not to go to school.
correct,
There you go. I'm done.
all of those things.
So it's 6, so a child is habitually truant if the child is subject to compulsory school laws and has incurred 6 or more school days of unexcused absences during that current school year.
Right, so I think when you look at 6, I mean, and you always understand, 6 is a lot of days when you're talking about 180. But it's not to be misconstrued as this student is missing 120 days.
Correct,
Right, and so when you see that high number, it's shocking. But that other data that you break down, okay, of that 43% or 45%, you know, they fall within the 6 to 8 range.
Mhm.
And instead of like 15 to 20 or 20 to 30.
yes, but let me qualify, because most of the time, if they have 6 to 8, they've already missed school 10 times from a parent's note. So really, they've been gone 16 to 18
Not
days.
necessarily.
Well, no,
though.
'cause they don't-
Not
It
not
could be-
always,
It could be that we just don't have excuse notes.
correct.
Right.
Correct, but our schools do a really, they try to do a really
Right.
pretty good job to say, hey, parents,
Correct,
get
absolutely.
us the note, get us the note.
But
I guess my
that's
point-
the fun of data,
And I
is
guess
there's
what
an
my
issue
point
here.
was-
Let's dig in and
Yeah,
really
and that's the
understand
issue, because
what that
it's-
means.
You know,
Right?
it could.
How many days are we talking?
Because if you see a student missing a lot of days, you know, for me in the classroom, I wonder what it is in the classroom that's occurring or what's occurring inside of the school. that
Yes.
needs To be dealt with.
Or at home, right.
Right, or if the student is, and so when you break down that data, I mean, you can break this down forever.
Right.
And then that's why the officers come into play in figuring out what that specific issue is. I just don't want it to seem like
Right.
kids just don't want to come to school. Like 45% of the kids don't want to come to school.
Right, that's what it looks like.
That's right, and that, but it's not that. It's
Right.
not that.
And I don't think it's like that. I think
Right.
a lot of times it's maybe Jamie was absent and mom just didn't do the note.
So we'll continue
Right.
to parse that out. Bottom line is this, we don't do
So-
attendance for attendance sake.
Oh, of course.
We take attendance because they miss instructional time.
Mhm.
So whether or not it's excused or unexcused, whatever it is, if they're not in that seat in front of us, they're not getting the benefit of the great experience of teaching of our great teachers, right? So I think in terms of looking at that and saying, oh, wow, that looks, really terrible. Again, individual numbers, Dr. Vidali had an awesome analogy today. In terms of numbers, do you want to share that? Because,
No, so this is.
oh, okay.
So I was working on a board presentation for January 27th on data. And I always just caution us that we don't want data to kind of bring us down or make us feel like our
Right.
work is not kind of worthy. So I was trying to think of an analogy, and I was driving into work this morning and I was like, oh, so data to me is like a scoreboard. It tells you the outcome. But the reality is, it doesn't tell you how hard the athletes worked, how hard they prepared, how hard they played, how they worked the whole season. It tells you that day how they performed, but it doesn't encapsulate everything that went into the game.
Right.
So I think we just need to be cautious of like looking at data and kind of like when a team loses, I'm a Steelers fan, we've lost the last 4 right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Scoreboard has not been happy, but it doesn't mean you throw out the system.
Right.
It means you go back, you look at film, you dig in more, and you better understand, again, the root cause. What is causing the scoreboard to look like that? Yep, thank you.
yeah.
Good, perfect. Thank you.
And I don't know if it lands like a
well, but I.
Oh, no,
you
I
know,
thought it was great. And again,
I'm okay
and
with it.
that
That
score, right, is
Worse.
is one game in a whole season. It's, you know, we're in a, all of these things need to be taken together. To indicate to us, like we talked about last time, the doctor takes those 3 measurements, right? It's that just, hey, how we doing? So the next one is the accident and infraction report data. And what it encapsulates is in our student body, how many of the offenses were code of conduct offenses, which were more minor in nature, maybe academic,
Best food.
yes, dress code, our favorite. As opposed to other incidents which are a little bit more severe. And all of this data, I did put the source on the bottom of every page just so that we know where we got it. This is publicly available data on the PA Safe Schools. So it tells us a little bit about how many students we excluded from class, and then how many students chose to exclude themselves from class by not coming to school or by being tardy to school, et cetera. And so I'm where is, well, we don't have it on this one, but Ms. Bear, we had tardy to school, you know, the same argument that is difficult to understand for attendance in buses is actually a positive for the tardy to schools, because South has a gazillion tardy to schools and North doesn't, because there's nowhere else to go. So they come to school when they get to school, right?
Correct.
But again, I'd encourage us to look from left to right and notice the patterns. There are some good patterns here. There are some patterns that cause us to say, okay, let's dive in and take a little bit bigger look. Our in-school suspensions at JTL, for example, have gone up. Okay, well, why is that? And there's a million reasons, right? All this report tells us is, oh, we should look at something a little bit more. You know, what does this show us? We need to go back to the film, as Dr. Vitale would say. In classroom performance then, what we took a look at is individual student course passing rate. So obviously this is a pattern that we want to increase. So we would want to make sure that there are more courses passed every year and more students every year with 0 failures. That's really what we're looking at to try to compare. And for comparison purposes, although they're not apples to apples, I would remind us, courses passed at B&M is brick and mortar versus courses passed at ESACA. You see the trend of population too. For example, ESACA has decreased in population in terms of JTL and in terms of Lehman. And this is remembering leaving the pandemic. So 21, 22, we had more students in there and they've gradually left us and gone back to the building. And again, those numbers show that we are increasing in those areas in terms of academic success as measured by course passing for our students. And then lastly, our PSSA performance and Keystone, because you do need to remember, and I forgot to bring this to your attention when we talked about the high schools. Traditionally, math has always been less successful in terms of percentage of passing rate at the high school. And we need to remember that part of that is because our best and brightest take that Algebra 1 in 8th grade and are not attributed to the high school. So what you will see here is our PSSA performance. The green, what I highlighted for you, is all the areas in which we increased. So if you look at ELA, math, and science, this year we increased that score for every area at every school except for one. And overall, our average between JTL and Lehman went up in 23, 24 across the board, ELA, math, and science. So that's, again, trending in the positive direction. And also with our Keystone performance, then you'll see I didn't put this down, but 20 out of 52, that indicates the students, how many students we had taking the course that year. That's that second number. And then how many students passed it.
I failed to put that in the key. But it shows you that both at JTL and Lehman, why did I put that in green? We actually decreased. Sorry. We had an exceptional cohort last year, 73.68. And the teacher there is our department chair, Mrs. Schembeck. She's very, very proud of these numbers. And she is really helping the rest of the math department in terms of creating learning experiences for students that create this kind of success all the time. And then at Lehman, you see we've steadily increased 2 and then 2 and then 2. We did have a change of teacher in there in one of those years. And so that also, as you know, could make a difference. But the pattern trending and trying to continue to increase.
Any questions, anybody?
I'm glad to see the numbers going up.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. for
Thank
doing
you,
that.
Heather. I
All the
appreciate it.
work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. A lot of work done for this
It
meeting
goes in there.
today, all around. So
Oh,
thank
to
you.
those of you watching at home, I forgot to actually forward all this presentation. Sorry. Okay.
And so to kind of end at least the presentation part, any shout outs that you may have for us?
It's my turn.
Take
So, so, thank you. Yesterday we had our first Steels immersion lesson with our partners at Penn State here at Smithfield Elementary with our teacher leaders in grades 3 to 5. And what the professor from Penn State did was establish our teachers as the students and walk them through a lesson without them seeing the big picture. Here's what you're going to do today. You are a student, and what she did was she created this engagement with, when we think steels and phenomena, right, and hands-on learning. One of the teachers said, I thought it had to be the baking soda volcano every time. We didn't touch materials until about 2.5 hours. Now this was like a 9-week thing that she just clipped us through as adults. We didn't touch materials till about 3 hours. And that time flew by. Everybody was like, when are we going to do the thing? But they were so excited. Like she just kept adding a layer of interest. And then we would do question stickies and it was just this amazing energy. And we'll be repeating that with grades K to 2 in another week or so. But it gave teachers a chance to experience what this could look like, that it isn't necessarily experiments every day, but how to get your students engaged to ask questions and lead that discussion and lead the learning, and the language that she used with our teachers. And one of our chairs said, my mind is on fire. So it was just it was a tremendous experience. And we're excited to have that again on January 21st with our K-2 teachers. We were finally able to give them that opportunity to feel that experience.
And what were the teachers this time around?
3rd through 5th.
That's
Yep.
very nice.
So more to come on that, but it's an incredible partnership that we have.
And I was able to pop in purely by happenstance because you were kind enough to invite one of our assistant principals at the middle level who is helping direct the middle level Steels effort for us, right? Again, that partnership between middle and elementary. I was sad that I was only there for a little bit because it looked really fun.
But their energy was just so high, and they really, the professor, again, kudos to our teachers. She said the professionalism, which I always say since I've been, the first day I've been here, I can't say it enough. But she said to me, when they started to come back in, because lunchtime, she's like, they're coming back early and on time. She's like, I don't ever see that when I work with school. Like they're so passionate and they want to get it right. And that's why she's here to learn from us and also help us. So it's been wonderful. Yes. It was nice to have you there for a bit.
Great, thank you.
And my shout out is just to the 2 high schools. They piloted a new winter Keystone schedule, whereby instead of 6 days of half days testing, they did 3 days of full day testing. It took about 1.5 years to plan all of it. And I attended the High School South Department Chair meeting yesterday, and the feedback was phenomenal. From the student perspective and the teacher perspective, few bugs to work out, but nothing major. And the teachers said they felt like they just felt relaxed. The kids felt relaxed. They knew there was nothing else. There was no teaching to do. There was no other work to do. You came into school to test. That was your focus and you did it and the support was great. So shout out to the admin team and to the teachers because this really revolved around the teachers doing the proctoring job that they always do and buying into it and our attendance at both High School South and High School North for kids coming to the test increased already from last year.
And kudos to food service
Oh,
and
yeah,
transportation.
Yeah, and
Because
transportation.
they made it all happen.
Yeah, they did. They did, especially for our MCTI kids. We had transportation, pick them up at their home and took them to MCTI and then brought them back to their home. They didn't have to stop at school. Wow, that's a big effort.
Yeah.
And
It's
they
actually a model we're looking at
Yeah.
to increase instructional minutes for our students and not drive them all the way up to North and then all the way down to MCTI. Is there a way we can do a direct route? So we're actually working on that model district-wide, not just for that day.
That's perfect.
And every once in a while.
Yeah.
I heard positive feedback up at North too from students who took the Keystones. They said for the first time they felt relaxed and not stressed out. They got to eat breakfast.
Yep.
They took their test. They had a nice break for lunch. They got to relax a little bit and then go back in and test. And they said they didn't feel as much pressure.
Good. Thank you for
That's
that.
excellent. That's great. That is great.
Hopefully our test scores result too.
We'll see. Yep, for sure. Any public participation? Okay. All right,
Thank you.
great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. All right, then we'll move on to our advisory recommendations for consideration. The first is we need a motion to recommend to approve the statistics curriculum as submitted at the December 5th, 2024 EPR meeting. I just want to make a comment on that because we did have a few changes from what it was in December 5th. If you remember when our discussion of last year that we were making sure when the curriculum was written that we weren't putting all of our levels in one, we were separating them. So just some of the changes from the copy that we got in December to the copy that you see in front of you today is this is now all just for CP.
Gotcha.
Okay,
I was
so
gonna ask
just,
that
yeah,
question.
so we know. So if anybody would like to make that.
I'll
motion.
move. Debbie.
Yep. Jason.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to Gizmos. We need a recommendation to approve the purchase of a 2-year subscription to Gizmos, an ancillary interactive science lab program for grades 3 through 12 in the amount of $39,413.80 per the attached quote. This program will be funded through the 24-25 curriculum and instruction budget.
Is this a new curriculum or is it just a renewal?
It's not a curriculum, it's just the program for the science teachers.
Correct.
Is it new or something we're?
I think it's a.
It is new.
Is
It
it
is
new?
new.
Oh, we haven't had this before?
We have not had this
So
before.
are we
Oh.
replacing what we did before? We're not doing what we did before.
We didn't have a science lab component before that was digital in nature. Individually, the teachers in different classrooms would do labs. One of the things we identified probably about 5 years ago was that because of certificate, teachers once certified are able to take other areas of certification tests and become certified in that. At the middle level, we had many teachers who were trained as in other subjects take the science test who are now science teachers, which is great.
Well,
Hardly any of them are lab trained. And so what we noticed as we start to shift to steels and that emphasis on hands-on is that we really needed to help them understand how to deliver a very specific lab programs that would engage students like Dr. Bradley just defined for us. Our high school chairs came to us with this program. We then took it to the middle level to say, we know that there is a need here. And our middle level, not only the teachers, but again, Mr. Tansen, who is a assistant principal, but he was a science level supervisor at the middle level before he came here, investigated it, said it was great. Dr. Bradley said, hello. Remember, we were trying to get programs that are from elementary to to 12 that are consistent, so our students have that time. So we asked our elementary folk to give it a look to see how it could supplement what it is that we're currently purchasing or looking at purchasing for the Steels effort. So that's how that came about.
This is a fantastic program. I've never met a teacher that did not like it.
Good,
And this also fits right into this new Steels guidelines as
it does,
well.
it does.
So it'll make the transition a lot easier for us too.
Yes.
And with assessments going to fully digital after this year,
Yes.
this will give kids more opportunity to engage in that
Practice,
digitally.
I wonder if this will also help with the science PSSAs and like Keystones, just because the labs are a little bit more getting kids excited
Right.
about science versus.
Yep. This is a 2-year quote, but if we are able to pass it and purchase it, the company has told us they'll give it to us free for the rest of this year and start our subscription in the
Awesome.
fall for the following 2 years.
Good negotiations there from that office.
We
Well done,
try.
well, done. I know you pride in it. but well
Yep.
done.
Yes, we do.
Any other questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then moving on to, we need a motion for recommendation to approve financing for the dual credit, dual enrollment program through a partner of higher ed schools. This is for the future educator cohort and the amount of 15,000 plus the cost of textbooks to be funded by the 2025-2026 general fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Had a lot of discussion on that.
Yeah.
A lot earlier.
Please, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then moving on, need a motion also to recommend to approve financing for the dual credit, dual enrollment program for students not enrolled in the future educator cohort in the amount of 40,000 to be funded by the 25-26 general fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and therefore our next meeting is February 6th, which is the first Thursday of the month at 5:30 here or online. And
I will be virtual this time again. I'm already traveling again
Okay.
for work.
thank you for letting us know. And a motion to adjourn. So moved. Aye, aye, aye. Thank you, everyone.